guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, in this video, we're going to be interviewing our respected guest here, Ronald Miles, and we're going to be talking about the Chick Webb Recreation Center Memorial that you can see over there. And actually, we're going to be talking about the addition that they're making at the Recreation Center, which is currently in construction that you can see over there. So, let's get right into the video.
That which you mentioned was to move kids from juvenile delinquency for them to become good citizens. Find out that it was the only center in America built with the help of nationally known Black entertainers and the Black community of Baltimore. We then moved to have it designated historic so that it would not be demolished.
Guys, we've all heard of William Henry Chick Webb as this amazing orchestra band leader and this amazing drummer, and him having a huge influence on Ella Fitzgerald, but we don't hear enough about his philanthropy work and his donation to the people. Few people know of his dying wish, and that he wanted to donate and to make this recreation center for kids not to fall into crime and to prevent that and making good citizens. This led to the creation and development of the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center in 1947. And one day, guys, there was this fundraising, also known as a donation, where all of the biggest stars of entertainment came at that time to donate, such as Joe Louis, Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, and even the Nicholas brothers, and so many more. In 1940, there was the first fundraising for the recreation center. But at that time, there was the Second World War that broke loose. So all of the money went into investments inside of the war, which we call war bonds. And then when the war was done, then everyone started actually fundraising the recreation center. And between 1940 and 1947, there was the same community of entertainers which came to make another concert to fundraise the recreation center. But then there was also this African-American newspaper which organized this fashion show to fundraise the recreation center. And also the Elite Giants, which was this baseball team, which made this exhibition game to fundraise the recreation center. And we're also normal people like you and me, the Black community, which were also fundraising for the recreation center. And this is the story that we want to tell of the first Black recreation center made by national well-known entertainers. And today, guys, we're going to be learning more about the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center with our help here with Mr. Ronald Miles, the CEO and president of the RJY Chick Webb Council Incorporated, which is a non-profit association here in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Mr. Ronald Miles, you are born and raised here in Baltimore, Maryland, USA, and you are a very well-known figure here in Baltimore for your non-profit community work. Can you tell us more about what are you doing here at the Chick Webb Memorial Center?
Well, yes, I can. And the thing is, I really appreciate your introduction as far as your explaining how the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center was developed. Now, yes, I am a Baltimorean, and I've been involved with community development for years and years. And what the most interesting thing about the Chick Webb Center was, it took me years to understand that Chick Webb, one of the most famous drummers, and as you mentioned, not only a drummer, but an orchestra band leader and philanthropist. And it took me years to know about that. It was like, I was like 9 years old. His death wish, which you mentioned, was to move kids from juvenile delinquency for them to become good citizens. I was up in age when I found this out. Although I learned to swim at Chick Webb when I was 9 years old. I became a lifeguard, helped me pay my way through school, and take care of my family. And it just blew me away to finally learn of that particular recreation center. But what came to mind and got me really involved was the city of Baltimore was doing a major redevelopment in the community where the Chick Webb Center is located. They're doing like $1 billion project as far as changing the home ownership and rental property for low income and middle income people in the neighborhood, where they tore down some projects, public housing projects. So the whole neighborhood is being transformed. But the Chick Webb Rec Center is located right within that footprint of the redevelopment. And part of the redevelopment, what city people fail to do is educate people before demolition. So the center was going to be demolished.
But you stopped them.
I did. I did, not only by me, but having to form a committee that we called the Dunbar Coalition. There was the rumor that the city was going to demolish the Chick Webb Rec Center. But then after doing the research, find out that it was the only center in America built with the help of nationally known Black entertainers and the Black community of Baltimore. We then moved to have it designated historic so that it would not be demolished. And not only not be demolished, but the other part of it is, how does it integrate into the overall redevelopment of the area? So oftentimes, we in the Black community especially, we don't know the history or the background of iconic or Black assets in our neighborhood. So, but again, finding out the story about the Chick Webb Center on the efforts of not only Chick Webb, but the Chick Webb Death Wish that was carried out by Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young. And Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young was the one who put together the Recreation Committee to carry out Chick Webb's Death Wish.
And one quick thing, guys, if you don't know what the committee is, basically like counselors, the big people of the actual association, right?
Well, again, it's people who come together with a common cause that they would want to make something happen in their neighborhood. So we create a small group in order to educate a larger group of people, because there's always going to be a few people that do the work. So it was the committee that was in fact the leadership, and it was Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young who was the president of that particular committee, who led that drive. And as you had mentioned before, that drive after the first concert at the 5th Regiment Army here in Baltimore, 7,500 people showed up at that concert, and the tickets were $1.15. That was in 1940.
Oh, so the money that was put into the tickets was actually the fundraising?
Absolutely. It was, but the entertainers donated their time. They didn't get paid. So all the money that was raised at that fundraiser went into a pool of money that was managed by the Recreation Committee headed by Dr. Young.
So the money was coming from the tickets and from some people who wanted to give back.
Well, again, people pay entry into a concert.
Yep.
So the entry fee for the people who went to the concert,
which was $7,500,
right, went into the fund to build the Chick Webb Center. Don't want to get off key there, but that was, when I found that out, it was just amazing to me, especially to reflect back on what Chick Webb Death Wish was, of kids moving from delinquency to become good citizens.
I think that's fascinating and crazy that now you are helping this recreation center, the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center, and you also lived through it. Because when you were younger, you're saying that you learned how to swim there, become a lifeguard, you didn't pay your studies. So what made you want to actually help them after experiencing it?
Well, what really made me want to help it, and again, with my background, is because of the lack of knowledge of the asset of a black iconic accomplishment that has never been done anywhere else, especially because we had the nationally known Black folk who built that rec center. it just amazed me. But you see, what happens when we do redevelopment in our communities, the professional people do not educate folks as to what their assets are. And oftentimes within our communities, we then demolish different things that are important to the Black community. So, when again looking at Chick Webb Death Wish, and I was a product of that, and then seeing the threat for demolition of the recreation center, I had to get involved. I got involved because, again, my background is in community development. So I've always been around the country, and I educated communities all over the country about their neighborhoods and how to get improved.
And when you found out that the place where you were living through at the time was getting demolished, then you had to step in and help.
I had to step in to bring my skills and my knowledge to the table.
And now you happen to be actually staying at this recreation center.
Well, it's under construction. If we just back up just a little bit, see, because again, having to educate our local people of the process, you see, because many times things are old in the neighborhood and they think that it's historic. But no, there is a process that one has to go through in order for it to become historic. So I had to then help train or educate our community as to what the process was so that we could in fact have it designated historic.
For people like me and our viewers who might not know what is a historic designation, can you tell us what is it and what is the significant importance of it?
Okay. Well, a lot of people do not know, but anytime you want to preserve your legacy and your history, then there's always a process that you have to do that in. And in the city of Baltimore, there is a process that we had to educate the community. The importance of knowing what your legacy is, your background, where you come from, where you're going, that is preservation. And then you can turn that to be historic preservation. What is your legacy? What is your community's legacy? The structures that's around you, what is their legacy? Because things are old, it could be old, but it can be demolished and destroyed. It won't be there anymore. But when it has some very significant concepts about it.
So saying that when something has such a deep history and a lot of effort put into it, it can't just be demolished.
Yes.
It has to be kept and used and historic landmark.
Absolutely. That is the key. And just too often we demolish and take that whole legacy or that whole history away. See, so that is what was important. And it reached my heart to understand about what Chick Webb wanted to do for his community and what Dr. Ralph Jonathan Young wanted to do for the community. So it was up to us. See, we talk about the talented 10th, whereas we, folks who know, have to educate those who do not know and then bring them along so that they too could be a part of preservation history. And that's what's really very important.
You were saying that when you went to the Chick Webb Recreation Center, you learned how to swim. Do you know any other stories of people who actually got their lives changed by the Chick Webb Recreation Center? Because that's the point.
Absolutely.
Keeping kids from delinquency and from crime and putting them into good systems. Safe, good systems.
So again, we look at the recreation center, and although I was a swimmer, we also had other activities at that particular center. We had activities such as what they call ping pong. We had a weightlifting. We had synchronized swimming. We had game rooms. We had dances. And then they had dance teams there. So, and some of the people I've spoken to, I guess we call them alumni. Oh, let me tell you something.
Like past students, alumni, for those people.
Yeah, a friend of mine, I ran into a friend of mine who started swimming. Again, swimming was very key there. At 5, and he was on the swim team. I also learned that my older brother, and there's a Mr. Alvin Webb, he was on the 1953 swim team that went undefeated. And then there were several people that actually gotten scholarships to college for swimming at that center.
Wow.
Another friend of mine, again, now is a minister. So there are a number of people that I'm beginning to identify now. First of all, to tell them the story of the history of the Chick Webb Center that they didn't know. But now they're telling their story as to their experiences at the center. I mean, the play place. And then not only that, but the people who influenced their lives that was in the center. You had Mr. Clemens, who was the first Black director of the center, and you had Mr. Richardson. They were people who provided us discipline and put us on the right track of doing things. You see, so that was the influence. Not just we went there to play, but the guidance that we got from some adults. And I'm not the only one, because I'm identifying quite a few people who shared with me their experiences, whether it was for swimming, whether it was for basketball, whether it was for track, whether it's for wrestling, whether it's for karate, whether it was for dance and our social activity, us coming together as young people in the community and having a good time and creating fellowships and friendships. So that is what occurred. And talking to these people now that they know in the history, they'll say, I didn't know that. But we went into this facility and didn't know the legacy of what Chick Webb wanted for us that keeps him alive.
Actually, we were at the site, remember? At the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center site, construction site, and you were saying that they were going to add new stuff, but are they just going to make an extension of it, or are they going to add special stuff that we didn't see yet?
That's very interesting to ask that question. Yes, it is under construction now. I'm going to back up a little bit because we had to go through a process that after it was designated historic, we had to then show the city that they had disinvested in that center for years and years. So then after getting designated historic, then you have to find the funding in order to improve it. So there was a process involved with improving it. So the city then did a survey as to what the community desired for the improvement and expansion of the center. And we, RJY Chick Webb Council, we circulated the survey nationally and got feedback from the not only Baltimore City, but around the nation. And some of the elements now that's going to be in the center is, although we talk much about the swimming pool, but that's going to be improved.
But they have a new swimming pool.
It's going to be improved.
Improved.
You know, I'm going to have to say improved. But there are going to be other components because now we're going to have what they call a founder's room. We're going to have a recording studio. We're going to have a multi-purpose education center. And not only that, because it was first designed for youth, we are expanding a city that we are talking about intergenerational. And intergenerational means not only will the center be for youth, but it also be for our seasoned residents as well, people like myself. You know,
so it's not only going to be for kids, but also for the residents.
Intergenerational. And then remember, we talked about the rehabilitation of the community where they're building new homes and stuff. So you're going to have a different population there. So we also did the demographics for the area, submitted that to the city so that they could integrate that information in order to come up with a new construction and expansion of the center. So we're really impressed with the area that's going to be a multi-purpose education center, the founder's room, recording studio, a walking track. Let me finish. Because you asked about how the center is going to be redeveloped. And those are going to be the components within that center. So that then goes for the expansion from where it began in 1947 to now where we are in 2024. And as you was at the center earlier, you've seen the construction site. We had groundbreaking in May of 2024, and we are looking at the center being completed in 2025.
You were mentioning that now the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center is made for the youth, the kids, and even the old people and even adults in the middle. And what's fascinating is that I think you were saying that the people who were coming at the recreation center, which was made in 1947, at that time, the people who were considered as youth, the young people, are now considered as the adults and seasoned people.
Yes, and that's going to be an example. I mean, I'm looking forward to participating and becoming active again in the Chick Webb Rec Center. But again, taking in the immediate area to servicing the local community. And then when people begin to understand that this is an iconic African American accomplishment, although we didn't talk about this as a museum, other people from around the country may want to now come visit in order to see where Chick Webb Death Wish was. And then, in essence, what that leads to is economic development for the city of Baltimore. Because then it could also not only be a functioning recreational, educational site, but also a site of tourism. And that is one of the most very astonishing, because as we learn more about history of the Black community, where this has been in the shadows, when we put the word out now, people from all over the world and all over the country may come to see the legacy and making Chick Webb a living legacy because of the construction of the recreation center. I am just so excited about that opportunity. But there's work to be done to make that happen, and that is our continual educating the community of the history of the center.
What vision do you have for the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center, and what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now, I really look at my vision locally is that, well, back up, because right now the center is under the jurisdiction of the City of Baltimore Department of Recreation and Parks. My vision now is once this is completed, or just before it gets completed, I would like to have the center to be managed and operated by the Black community. So often the city talks about, when they do development, they talk about community benefit. But our people more so are dealing with consumption, because after they create the jobs up front when doing renovation or construction, after that, there's nothing. But here with the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center, just as it started off with the Black community, I would like it to be ending with the Black community. I want a community-based nonprofit organization to manage and operate the center out of the hands of the Department of Recreation. And also, as we continue to market and educate our communities nationally, those principals who were part of the Chick Webb Center in its development, I think we could create more Chick Webb Recreation Centers around the country for the Ella Fitzgerald, the Jackie Mosley, the Duke Ellingtons, those principals who kicked off the fundraising to have the Chick Webb Rec Center built.
How do you think that the people watching can help the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center?
Yeah, we can help the RJY Chick Webb Council by going to our website at rjychickwebcouncil.com, as well as we're on Facebook. I'm looking at expanding our exposure more, but there you can find a tab in order to donate to the council. And what we do with the donation is we are very minimal, but we are looking at providing supplements to the Chick Webb Center to assist in programming down the road and that kind of thing. So we're charitable. We want to be giving back to the community.
Mr. Ronald Miles, we're getting at the end of this interview. And for our last question, what is your message to the audience and the people watching right now? What is your message, especially to the youth?
I would say my message is work with the RJY Chick Webb Council. We provide the guidance as far as what we needed. And then, especially for the youth, I'm just looking for this center open over the next year. And we pour ourselves into it, telling other people this story about the Chick Webb Memorial Recreation Center as an African American iconic accomplishment. Tell the story, visit, and then those who are nearby is to come in and utilize the center.
And a way to for more people to actually learn about it is by sharing this video, for example, because you've been talking about the whole thing, the whole history. So guys, we should share this video and try to get the most amount of views to try to hopefully help the YouTube to actually recommend this video for more people, so more people can learn your story.
That'd be fantastic.
Story. And actually, welcome to family. Thank you for this amazing interview. And
I am so pleased. Thank you so much.